it's Maths Clinic again with Jenifraction. I'm happy to be here again to take us through another section. Today we are talking about equivalent fractions. Wow, do you know that some fractions have the same value? Do you also know that some fractions are equal in proportion to the whole? That's what we're going to treat today. These fractions that have the same value are called equivalent fractions. Follow me with your mind, your soul, and your concentration. Remember, I said maths is fun, maths is interesting, and maths is life. Let's take this illustration. This is a whole biscuit. Remember, I said fractions are numbers. They are taken from a whole number. So this is a whole biscuit. I call it 1. I'm going to share this, my whole biscuit, into 2. So if I share into 2, I have fraction. So what fraction is this? I have 1 out of 1, 2. So this fraction is 1 out of 2. I have shared the whole biscuit into 2. We have a fraction 1 out of 2. Now this same biscuit is going to be shared into 4 parts. Let's take it again. I'm sharing it. You can see initially we shared into 2. Now I'm going to share each part into 2 again. So I have 4 parts. So what fraction do we have here? We have 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 1 out of 4. That is each fraction. But do you know that this is 1 part? I want 1 part. That was how I got my 1 out of 2 parts. Now, this same 1 part is what I have here. So we have this same part. How many parts did I shade? I have 1, 2. That is 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 2 out of 4. Are we getting it? Remember, 1 biscuit is shared into 2. I took 1 part, that is 1 out of 2. I shared it into 4 again. That same 1 part I took, I have shared it into 2. So I have 1, 2 out of 4 parts. Now, we're going to share the same biscuit again into 6 parts. You remember, we still have our 1 part, the other 1 part, and this same 1 part, I'm going to share it into 3. So I have 1, 2. So I have 1, 2, 3. The same thing will happen to these parts. Can you see it? I've shared it into 6 parts. I still have the same 1 part I am shading. So how many parts did I shade here? 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 parts out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out of 6. Are you following? I'm still going to share the same biscuit into 8 parts. So I have this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm still dealing with the same part I've been shading. So how many parts has it become? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have 4 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out of 8 parts. Can you see that this part is the same as this part? And it's still the same as this part? And it's also the same as this part. So this fraction equals this, and it equals this, and also equals this. Therefore, I'll say 1 over 2 equals 2 over 4 equals 3 over 6 equals 4 over 8. These fractions are called equivalent fractions. Why are they equivalent? Why are they equal? Because they have the same value. They have the same proportion as the whole. What is the same proportion they have? The same proportion they have is that it's one part, the same part, the same part, and the same part. It's just that they have different denominators and different numerators. And that brings us to the definition of equivalent fractions. So we say equivalent fractions are fractions with the same value or equal fractions. Equivalent fractions are fractions with the same value or equal fractions. They have the same value to the whole proportion. They have the same proportion to the whole number. So, when we're talking about equivalent fractions, they are fractions even though they have different numerators and different denominators, they are equal in value. They are the same in proportion. So, how do we find equivalent fractions of fractions? How do we find fractions that have the same value with the fractions you're given? Don't go anywhere. Sit tight with more concentration and you'll get it. The first fraction we're going to look at is 2 over 5. We want to find 4 more equivalent fractions of 2 over 5. We want to find 4 more equivalent fractions of 2 over 5. Now, how do we do it? We start by multiplying the numerator and denominator by our numbers. In this place, it has already been multiplied by 1. Remember, 2 times 1 is 2, and 5 times 1 is 5. That is how we got 2 over 5. So, to find the next subsequent equivalent fractions, you start by multiplying the numerator and denominator by 2. After multiplying by 2, you move to the next number. You multiply by 3. After multiplying by 3, you move to the next number, you multiply by 4, and so on, according to how many equivalent fractions you are asked to find. In this example, we're going to find 3 more equivalent fractions. So the first one, we have to multiply by 2. I'll say my 2 over 5 times 2. What I do to my numerator, I'll do to my denominator. Therefore, I have 2 times 2, 4 over 5 times 2. I have 10. That's the first equivalent fraction. Now, the next equivalent fraction, we multiply by 3. So, I have my 2 over 5 times 3 times 3. Therefore, I have 2 times 3. I have 6 over 5 times 3. I have 15. Now, what do we do? How do we get the next one? Can you say it to yourself? Good. We multiply by 4. We have multiplied by 2, multiply by 3. The next one is to multiply by 4. So we still have a 2 over 5 times 4 times 4. So we have 2 times 4, 8 over 5 times 4, 20. Now we have 1, 2, 3. Remember, we are finding the next 3 equivalent fractions. 1, 2, 3. Now, therefore, we say 2 over 5 equals 4 over 10 equals 6 over 15 equals 8 over 20. Therefore, 4 over 10 has the same value as 2 over 5. 6 over 15 has the same value as 4 over 10 and also the same value as 2 over 5. 8 over 20 is equal to 6 over 15, also equal to 4 over 10, and also equal to 2 over 5. Did we get that? Now let's take another example. The next fraction we're going to do is 4 over 7. 4 over 7. We want to find 4 more equivalent fractions of 4 over 7. So what do we start with? What number do we start with? We start with 2. So we say 4 over 7 times 2 times 2. Therefore, we have 4 times 2, 8. 7 times 2, 14. After multiplying by 2, what's the next number to multiply with? 3. So we say 4 over 7 times 3 times 3. We have 4 times 3, 12, over 7 times 3, 21. The next number to multiply with is 4. So we have 4 over 7 times 4 times 4. Therefore, we have 4 times 4, 16. 7 times 4, 28. Remember, we are finding the next 4. So let's count how many have we found. 1, 2, 3. So we still need 1 more equivalent fraction. I know you'll be wondering, we are asked to find 4. We have already used 4 to multiply. It doesn't go with the numbers you're using to multiply. You have to count how many fractions you have found out. So we found out 1, 2, and 3. That means we still need 1 more. We've multiplied by 2. We've multiplied by 3. We've multiplied by 4. To find the next one, we multiply by 5. Now let's do that together. 4 over 7 times 5 times 5. Therefore, we have 4 times 5, 20, over 7 times 5 is what? 35. Therefore, the next 4 equivalent fractions of 4 over 7, which also mean the next 4 fractions that have the same value as 4 over 7 are 8 over 14 equals 12 over 21 equals 16 over 28 and equals 20 over 35. I hope you now understand what we mean by equivalent fractions. And I hope you enjoyed the class. See you in our next class. I love you.